A fisherman named Syracuse is running his nets through the water, when suddenly he pulls his net up and realizes that he has caught a woman's body. Upon closer inspection, it is revealed that the woman is alive. He takes the woman out of the net and gives her mouth to help her regain consciousness, and then helps her regurgitate all the water in her lungs. He tells the woman that she is alive, but she cannot believe it. She says that she thought for sure she was dead. He gives her a blanket to warm her up and says that he is going to take her to a hospital. She does not like the idea. She says that she is fine. He insists that after an incident like that, she needs to see a professional, but she is insistent that she cannot see anyone. As a boat passes by, she ducks to make sure that the people in it don't spot her. Syracuse asks her what her name is, but she replies that she doesn't know. He assumes that she must have hit her head and lost her memory. He tells her that his name is Syracuse, but people call him Circus to imply that he's a clown. He understands that she does not want to be seen and brings her to his late mother's abandoned house in an isolated area. He gives her his lunch and asks if she'll be all right by herself because he has somewhere to be. She says she will be fine, which surprises him, but he leaves all the same. Next, Syracuse arrives at his ex-wife's house to pick up his daughter, Annie, for her dialysis appointment. She is disabled and he carries her around. He asks her if something strange or wonderful happened to her lately, and she inquires why he always asks that. He says that's what he hopes for all the time, for something strange or wonderful to happen. During the dialysis, Annie asks Syracuse to tell her a story, and he tells her the story of a fisherman who caught a woman in his net. She asks him what creature the woman was, and he doesn't understand what she means. She asks if the woman was a mermaid or a selkie, and he replies that he can't say for sure. Next, Syracuse gets Annie an automatic wheelchair so she can get around. He brings Annie home, and his wife tells him that Annie needs a kidney transplant, but the doctor says that he still hasn't found a match yet. Syracuse returns to the mystery woman and is surprised that she is still there. She asks him why he is surprised, and he replies that he was half sure that he dreamt the whole thing. He pulls his boat in to go fishing, and the woman asks if she can come with him. He says that it is bad luck to have a woman on a fishing boat, but then he changes his mind and takes her along. Syracuse is struggling to catch anything at all, as usual. He asks the woman if she remembers her name now, and she says that he can call her Ondine. He asks her what that means, and she says that it is the name of a woman who came from the sea. She starts singing a beautiful song in an unknown language, and as she does, Syracuse pulls up his cage and sees that he's caught a few lobsters. He finds this odd. He throws in another cage and pulls it up empty. Then he asks Ondine to sing. As she sings, he throws in the cage and pulls it up to find that he has caught several lobsters. He realizes that she brings him good luck. He teaches her to tie the lobster's claws. She asks if he usually catches this many, and he says that this almost never happens. Afterwards, Syracuse says that they are going to go and sell these in the town, and Ondine will get her share for her singing. She says that she won't go with him because she does not want people to see her. He points out that he's seen her, but she replies that he is the only one who gets to. Syracuse sells the lobsters and uses the money to buy a dress for Ondine. He also steals some women's underwear. He comes to see Annie at school and continues the story that he was telling her during the dialysis. He tells her that the mystery woman from the sea sings in an unknown language and brings all the lobsters nearby, allowing the fisherman to catch them. Annie says that she is definitely a selkie then. They are mythical creatures that are half women, half seal, and shed their seal coats when they come on land. The song she sings is actually a form of communication that she uses to talk to all the other sea creatures. She asks him who the fisherman in the story is, and Syracuse tells her that it is him. He made this story up for her. She doesn't seem to believe him and follows him as he drives away. Syracuse arrives at his mother's home and finds Ondine trying on her old shoes. She doesn't seem to know how to tie the laces, which he finds curious. He gives her the dress he'd bought, and she kisses him to show her gratitude. He asks her how long she'll be staying, and she says that it depends on him. He replies that if it depends on him, she can stay forever. Meanwhile, Annie secretly observes the whole situation. She decides to read up on selkies to figure out what is going on. Syracuse arrives at a church to confess. He tells the father that he is an alcoholic who has been sober for over 2 years now. But his wife still drinks, and he would like to get his daughter out of her possession. The father says that he can put both of them in touch with a counselor, but Syracuse doesn't want that. He also confesses that he stole some women's underwear, and the father says that he does not like where this is going at all. Syracuse replies that it's not what he thinks, and tells him about Ondine. The father inquires, but Syracuse doesn't reveal where he is keeping her. The father requests that Syracuse keep him informed about any developments in this case. Ondine tries on the underwear, and then decides not to wear any of it for the hot shot of her swimming. As she comes out of the water, Annie is there. Annie says she knew her dad didn't make up the story, and that Ondine is a real selkie. Ondine realizes that Annie is Syracuse's daughter. Annie asks Ondine if she has magical powers, and if she can make her better. Ondine asks what's wrong with her, and Annie reveals that she has kidney failure. Annie notices that Ondine is cold, and she points out that it's because selkies belong underwater. Ondine says that she doesn't know what Annie is talking about, but Annie says that she has done all her research, so it's best if they don't lie to each other. She says that selkies can live on land for 7 years if they bury their seal coats there, and they will cry 7 tears during that time. However, after that, they can find unexpected happiness with a landsman. Annie starts to leave, and Ondine kisses her and says that she looks forward to seeing her again. Annie points out that her cheek is wet, which means that she has already cried one of the 7 tears. Meanwhile, Syracuse arrives at the library to check out books about selkies, but finds that Annie has already checked out all of them. Syracuse offers to take Ondine out fishing again. She says that she'll only go if he promises that he will be the only one to see her. He promises. As they are fishing, the fisherman patrol passes by, and Ondine ducks to hide. She steers the ship with her feet, and Syracuse is turned on. Fishermen have strange kinks. Ondine sings again, and Syracuse catches a ton of salmon. He is surprised because he was trawling, and that is not how salmon are caught. You need to use a gill net for it. The fisherman patrol men hop on Syracuse's boat to investigate how he managed to catch so much salmon trawling. They inspect his gill net to see if it is wet, and end up spotting Ondine, who was hiding. They point out that there is a girl in there, and Syracuse asks if that is illegal, and they say no. But it is unusual. They leave, and Ondine realizes that they will talk, so it's no point hiding now. Syracuse arrives in the town with Ondine, and everyone stares at her. He tells her that this is a small town, and they rarely get someone as beautiful as her here. He takes her shopping, and people crowd outside as she tries on new clothes. Meanwhile, Syracuse and Annie discuss how he caught her near a place called Seal Rock, which makes sense since she is a selkie. Next, Annie and Ondine are at the old house when Annie reveals that she doesn't know how to swim. Ondine decides to teach her, but as she is teaching her, she spots something in the water and quickly takes Annie out. She dives in and grabs the thing. Annie asks if this is her seal coat, and Ondine quickly agrees and says that they should bury it so that she can stay on land for 7 years. Annie loves that idea. Annie and Ondine bury the mystery object, and Ondine makes her promise to not tell anyone about where it is. Next, Annie, Ondine, and Syracuse go out to sea, where Annie explains to Syracuse that Ondine can live for 7 years with a landsman, unless her selkie husband comes to claim her. She also points out that selkies can grant wishes. Ondine tells Annie that she is not a selkie, so she needs to stop with all of this. Meanwhile, a suspicious-looking dark-haired man arrives in town and goes around looking for someone in particular. Annie decides to test Ondine's claim that she's not a selkie by jumping in the water. Ondine jumps after her and saves her, validating Annie's beliefs. Afterward, Syracuse brings Annie home, and her mother tells her that a dark-haired man is going around town looking for Ondine, but that is not the name that he is using. Syracuse and Ondine arrive home, and she asks him why people call him Circus the Clown. He says that he used to drink a lot and do dumb things. She asks him what made him stop, and he reveals that one day he came home and found Annie lying unconscious while her mother was passed out from all the drinking. He decided that one of them needed to be sober to take care of Annie, but his wife kicked him out after that, and since he is just a lowly fisherman, the government wouldn't give him custody of Annie. After this sad tale, the two proceed to make love, as one does. Next, Syracuse arrives at the church to confess again. He tells the father that he is scared because Ondine brings him luck, and he is starting to hope again, but he is worried that all of this is going to lead to either something wonderful or something terrible. The dark-haired man is waiting for Syracuse outside the church, and he asks him what he calls a lady that he found in the ocean. Syracuse refuses to answer the question. Next, Ondine is sleeping when she sees headlights outside of the house. She realizes that it's the dark-haired man and quickly runs away and hides. Meanwhile, Syracuse takes Annie from her dialysis appointment back to her home and finds that it is locked. The keys are with his wife, who is at a bar, and Syracuse has no choice but to leave Annie with her, even though he doesn't want to. Syracuse arrives home and discovers that it is completely wrecked. He gets worried about Ondine and goes out looking for her. He finds her hiding and asks what happened. She says that the selkie husband Annie mentioned has arrived to take her back. Syracuse asks why she can't tell him to go to hell, and she replies that it is not that simple. He jokingly says that Ondine can grant wishes, so why doesn't she wish for him to go away? She instead wishes that Annie would not be sick anymore. Syracuse wishes that Ondine would stay with him forever. Annie's mother is driving her home, but she is drunk and crashes into another car, which turns out to be the dark-haired man's. Her mother's boyfriend, Alex, goes flying out the windshield, plummeting to his death. Syracuse and Ondine arrive on the scene, and Syracuse rushes to check on his daughter. At the hospital, the doctor tells Syracuse that Alex had a donor card, and surprisingly, he is a tissue match for Annie. They go through with the transplant. Meanwhile, Ondine meets the dark-haired man, and they have a conversation which reveals that the two are caught in something illegal together. Syracuse arrives at Alex's funeral and pushes his ex-wife's wheelchair around. The two arrive at the wake where his ex-wife insists that he have a drink out of respect for Alex. Syracuse doesn't want to, but succumbs to the temptation. His ex-wife tells him that while she is in the wheelchair, Annie should stay with him, but he must get rid of Ondine. She brings good luck at first, but then it's all bad luck. Syracuse ends up drinking a whole bottle. He arrives at the boat completely drunk and takes Ondine to Seal Rock. He sits her down and pretends to go and get another bottle from the boat, but he is actually leaving her behind all by herself. Ondine says that she should at least get the chance to say goodbye to Annie, but Syracuse doesn't listen. He says that her kind and his kind don't belong together. She should stay here and sing to the seals. Next, Syracuse wakes up on a tree where the father comes to help him down. The father tells him that he is terrible at accepting good luck. He says that misery is easy, but happiness takes work. Syracuse goes to pick Annie up from the hospital and brings her home. She asks where Ondine is, and Syracuse says that her selkie husband came and claimed her. Annie says she'll be back because there is something of hers that is still here. Syracuse asks what she is talking about, but she refuses to reveal it. Next, Annie is watching TV when one of the channels shows a band performing at a concert. Syracuse recognizes the song as the one that Ondine sang on his boat. He realizes that it's a real song, which means that she is a real person and not a selkie. He rushes out to go look for her and finds her at Seal Rock. He demands that she tell him the truth. She reveals that she is a prisoner and drug mule from Romania. The dark-haired man is Ladet, who was with her when the two were caught by the Irish Coast Guard. He forced her to take the drugs and swim away. She is a good swimmer, but the Irish waves drowned her. That is when Syracuse rescued her. Syracuse asks what her real name is, and she tells him it's Joanna. Next, Joanna and Syracuse arrive home to discover that Vladic is already there. Vladic and his accomplice threaten to shoot Syracuse and Annie unless Joanna reveals the location of the drugs. Joanna takes Vladic to where she buried the drugs, but finds that they have been moved. Annie reveals that she moved her seal coat because she did not want anyone to find it, since that would mean she would have to go away. Joanna promises her that she will stay if she reveals the location of the coat. Annie reveals that she put it in the lobster pot. They all arrive on the boat, and as Vladic is pulling the lobster pot out, Joanna uses a rope he is standing on to push him and his accomplice into the water. The two can't swim and drown in the water. Afterward, the police arrive and take Joanna into custody, while Syracuse and Annie head home. Next, Syracuse arrives at the church again to confess. He reveals that Joanna is appearing before a judge next week, and since she is a non-national, she will be deported. However, if she were to become a national, she could stay, but for that, someone would have to marry her. The father smirks and wonders who that would be. Next, Annie helps Joanna get into her bride's dress, while Syracuse arrives in a fancy suit himself. The three get on the boat and head toward the wedding ceremony.